Welcome to the Book Flood Podcast. I am your host, Tom Nixon. My guest this week is Shannon McClintock Miller. Shannon is an international speaker, consultant, and author who has a passion for education, librarianship, advocacy, technology, social media, and making a difference in the world and lives of others, especially children. Shannon serves as the preschool 12th grade district teacher librarian at Van Meter Community School District in Iowa. She currently serves as the Future Ready Librarian spokesperson and Future Ready Schools national faculty member working with librarians, educators, and students around the world every day. Shannon is also Capstone's teacher librarian community leader. Shannon is the author of the award-winning The Library Voice blog and enjoys writing for various blogs and journals and other forums. She has written 12 children's books about library skills and Makerspace with Capstone, wrote Leading from the Library with her writing partner Bill Bass and ISTE, and has contributed to several other professional books about libraries and education. Welcome, Shannon.
Thanks for having me today.
Oh, I am so very excited that you're here. Very pleased. So, why don't we go ahead and talk a little bit about your career trajectory? How did you get to where you are today? You do so much. How did you get here?
Well, I went to college and I have an art degree and an elementary ed degree. And then I stayed home with my three kids for a long time till the oldest one was 14. And a library job came open at my school, and I was not a librarian. I wanted to be an art teacher or a teacher and did not get those jobs. And so then they said, well, maybe the library would be a good place for you to be. And so I took the job. My youngest one was a baby. My oldest one, Brianna, was 14 and almost in high school. And it was great because I got to be with my kids and didn't know anything about libraries. And just threw myself in after a couple of weeks. I knew that I could make a difference. And, not only within our school as we started to think about, using technology and how that would look and just changing even the way libraries were. And the other stuff was not part of the plan. About 2 years later, my superintendent and my principal and I got invited to speak in Nashville about what we were doing at Van Meter with technology and thinking about like a one-to-one program. And then shortly after that, it all just kind of ramped up from there.
It is funny how so many of us, myself included, got our jobs in the library and then said, well, maybe we got to learn something about libraries and went off to school to do that. But
Yeah.
there just aren't enough jobs out there to go to school first, I think, or I don't know what. But
Yeah. Well, and when I took the job at Van Meter, I had three kids. I had a very young child too, and I knew I'd have to go back and get my master's degree.
mm,
And I had never worked outside of my house as an adult, and I just fit perfectly into, I got to still use my teacher part. I got to use my love for art and creativity and innovation. And I loved going back to school and, getting my master's. And I think, at that time, not knowing all the things that I could do as a librarian, that was something that was just so exciting for me.
mm. These seem to be interesting times to be a librarian or to think about becoming a librarian. How do you think the challenges now are different than in the past?
Well, I think there's a lot of things, there's time, I think is a huge thing, like how much time that our teachers are tasked to do things. And so our jobs have changed in that when it comes to supporting our teachers in collaboration and helping them with our classroom collections. Of course, our collections have changed with a lot of things going on around books and collections and communities and book banning. That's a big part of what we, research and educate ourselves and advocate for our readers. And then I think it's just, keeping up too with like the trends of technology, keeping up with everybody's probably a one-to-one school now, especially since the pandemic, and keeping up with, not only the tools that we're using, but to make sure that we're part of, how media literacy, news literacy, digital citizenship, like that's a big part of our role too, and making sure that we support our teachers and our kids in that way.
Hmm.
Challenges are probably always been challenges, but definitely a lot going on, right?
There certainly is, and it just every day seems to be more and more.
Yes. Well, and I think that, like one thing that I think one reason I do all of this too is to support people where they are. And it's challenges too on people, you know, keeping their jobs, keeping their role, keeping their libraries. Like there's so many things going on. And so I think what we just need to, remember is that, to advocate, to get a seat at the table, to support everyone, and just to make, the school library the heart like it's never been before within schools.
Hmm. So you are the host of the Future Ready Librarians podcast, and you run the Future Ready Librarians Hub. How did all of that come about?
Well, probably about 10 years ago, we actually hosted a digital learning day within our school, and digital
Hmm.
learning day is put on for all for ed every year. And so we did a whole bunch of fun things, like really meaningful things within our school library, and shared that, and started just sharing things for Future Ready. And I've done consulting for Follett too for several
Hmm.
years as well. And Follett is the main sponsor for Future Ready Librarians, and so I worked with them very closely. I've worked with Future Ready and my good friends Tom Murray and Leah Dawson and Sarah Hall, now Adam File. So we've worked together now for it's almost 10 years, which is crazy. So just, it's been such a amazing journey, not only for me and the work that I do get to do around the country, but also just within my own school too, on, making sure that we're future ready and all the things that we do too. But it's been really great. The podcast, this is our I'm recording right now our 10th season. I had one right before
Wow.
this. And so we do two a year. So we're coming up on, after this on our 6th year, which is crazy. We're getting ready to kick off our 2025 webinar series. We do about 6 a year there. And then we
Hmm.
have live events too. And so we have live events across the country. And Leah and I just got back from NCCE, and I went to IdeaCon. We were at FETC. Like it's just so neat to see like the impact that we've made over the last several years with Future Ready Librarians.
Hmm. So you've talked a lot about the things you do, the many, many things you do. You're a full-time librarian. People forget that's a full-time gig for you. You're hosting a successful podcast, author, speaker, consultant. How do you juggle all of that?
I
I
don't
have one podcast, and yet it seems to be a lot. How do you do that?
I don't get a lot of sleep. I get up early in the morning. I think I've been going today since about 5:30, and I went to bed last night after midnight. And
Oof.
I do know that spring break though is tomorrow. So that's in my
Yay.
head, and I'm trying to get as much done. And but I enjoy my work. I love working with others. I think that it's, we have such a great community in the library world, but I also absolutely love being at my school and being in the library and in the classrooms with our kids and our teachers. And so if I want to do all that, it is a lot of work, but it is, it's benefits me in a lot of different ways. Like I just had a podcast recording right before this with my friends in Nantucket. I just recently went there and, coming back with ideas and resources and things that I want to do that I learn really has benefited me in my role at Van Meter too.
Hmm. How long have you been working at Van Meter?
This is coming up next year on my 20th year. I know. So cool. Great
Hmm.
place. We're still at Van Meter, we're still in one building. Everybody's under one roof. We have about 1,000 kids, preschool to 12th grade.
And you're
And
in one building.
yep, one building, and we're building on again. And it will open up not this fall, but next fall in 2026, the addition. And it includes a new library. So I'm very, very excited about that.
Are you getting any input into what that library
Oh,
might be
yeah.
like?
From the beginning. So that's been really great. And it's going to be a really great space, and they did a great job of getting input from all of our teachers. And so that's been really fun process to see and watch. And then the same architectural firm, they're actually renovating a space in the town for a public library too. So I think that's really unique that the same firm is doing both spaces, and I serve on the board in our public library, and so I'm looking forward to seeing even how those two can support each other and kind of mesh too. So it's an exciting time at Van Meter.
It is. When at one point in my life, I was in charge of libraries in Fresno Unified School District, which is a large urban district. And I was the first person who had that job in a long time. And they were not used to the idea that I might want to see what the libraries were going to look like as we did this, as they created new libraries or redid libraries, that kind of thing. Um, but also, we weren't always so lucky. We had wonderful architectural folks who had not a lot of uh, history with libraries necessarily.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I hear that a lot from people. And so I feel super fortunate and, just really excited about what this is going to mean to our kids and our community and our teachers. But also just how, I keep dreaming up like new ways to do, library services and what we're going to offer and how it's going to look. So it's just really, really exciting. We have 18 months left, so that might go kind of slow maybe, but I'm excited.
For your podcast, do you find it difficult to come up with topics after this many years out? Do I know you're sponsored? Do they say, "Hey, have you ever thought about doing this topic?"
They might like suggest, especially people and topics, like when we talk about, different things, not only in the podcast, but like the work that I do. But I usually open it up to people, and I love to hear what the librarians are passionate about, like what they're working on, what they really think, the story that they share, how it will make a difference in people's lives from the smallest thing to the biggest thing,
Mm,
like from something that's personal to them to a project they did to a cool collaboration, a place that they, have created. And I think that that's so cool because everybody has something to celebrate, right? Like
right.
everybody's doing something in your library and in your school. And I think that everybody's story deserves to be heard. And
Mm,
so, one thing that I just love is just hearing from others. I heard from someone last night from Saudi Arabia and asked if she could be a guest on the podcast, new librarian. So I absolutely said yes because I just can't wait to hear what she has to share. So I think that I'm lucky to get to hear these stories. A lot of times I listen to them afterwards too, once they're, on Apple, and I can listen when I'm walking, and
Mm.
I've just learned so much. So it's really great. Just like you get to hear all these stories,
You know,
inspiration.
I've been very fortunate to have some wonderful guests, including you.
Thank
But
you.
but this week's guest, which is already up and everything, is our California State Librarian,
Very cool.
which was very cool.
Yeah.
Uh, and he has kind of unique work history, and so that was cool. He was not a librarian when he, like us, not a librarian
Yeah.
when he got the job, but government bigwig like that, and yet he went to San Jose State and got the degree, got the
Oh, that's
master's.
awesome. Yeah, it's neat to hear people's stories, and I am always just so inspired, and I'm also so proud of people to be on to share their story, because a lot of times they might have never been on. I had a couple guests this week, they've never been part of a podcast, or
Mm,
maybe they've never presented, and I'm like, this is such great advocacy for yourself and for the work that you do, and so I love that piece too.
any guests that come to mind that you're particularly pleased that you were able to get on the podcast?
Oh gosh, everyone.
Mm,
Everybody. I've loved it all, and last time in season 9, I think I had a lady who told the story about how this bird like hatched an egg in her windowsill, and how it brought like the whole community together because they put a camera on it and they live streamed it, and kids would come to the library and they wouldn't leave, and like stories like that are just
mm,
so dear and special, and stories of people who, of course, maybe they've had some struggles, or people who are brand new or who have been, around. Like I love every story that I get to hear.
nice. And the bird, that's a pretty cool
You have to
thing.
listen. You have to go
I
back and
will.
listen. It
I
was
will.
so cool. Yes.
So do you have some advice for new teacher librarians?
Well, sure, I could talk about that all day.
Right?
I think that probably my biggest advice to people is, I mean, one thing that I did when I first got into my library was to get to know my community, your community. Like, I think that's the biggest thing, is get to know your kids, your teachers, your space, just sit in it for a week or two. And that first year, I worked so hard at just building the community, because the library hadn't been like that before. And just to build a
Right.
place where our kids, would love to come, or the teachers love to collaborate, or, whatever it might be. Um, and also, become part of, like, join the Future Ready Librarian Facebook group, get involved in, if you have a state organization, but find a couple friends or mentors who can just support and help you. And if you don't have any library people, like I'm been the only librarian in my school the whole time. But it's great because we have, people in Future Ready Librarians or wherever it might be, who would be just really happy to mentor, or, to be like your librarian friend. But I think that, just going slow, you don't have to do everything at once.
Right.
Building that relationships that you have in your community and finding your own community too, I think is just so important. Follow the
Hmm.
follow the podcast, Future Ready Librarian podcast, and you'll learn something every day.
Nice. What are you working on now?
Well, I have a big series of books coming out this summer. A new set of books. I wrote a book 2 years ago with Capstone and ISTE called Sonia's Digital World.
Hmm.
And Sonia now and her friends have grown up a little bit, and they're in an early chapter book series this time. And so at ISTE, there are 4 that come out this summer, 3 that come out the next, and they're all focused around the ISTE student standards. And so
Oh,
that's
nice.
been fun. I also just started working with Book Creator as their future ready advocate. And a dream come true for me because I love Book Creator and we just love using it at our school. And I'm excited to be able to support not only librarians, but educators and our students, especially with just such an amazing tool and the way that it is. I've watched my kids like this week and kindergarten and first grade use it, and just seeing them just so excited and all their creative ideas come to life and become writers and creators is something that I believe in so much. And so working with Book Creator is definitely something that I'm going to love, and I can't wait for what's to come with that too.
Nice. Is there a book or a series of books from your childhood that still resonates with you?
Oh my goodness. Well, I come from, like, my sister's a librarian too. We love to read. My mom was a teacher. I think books that our kids still love to read. I am a huge fan of Judy Blume, like Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing,
Mm,
Super Fudge, the books that she's written for our teens. Those probably had the biggest impact on me as a early reader, as a and even a young adult, that still are being read today, right?
right.
And I think that that is just so special. But I mean, I read anything that I could and continue to, and it's just so fun to see some of those, the books that maybe, even compare or that's, spike our interest. Like my son loves Harry Potter. I loved Harry Potter. My oldest one did too. But to even see him as a 19-year-old reading it, multiple times and still seeing kids now reading it in our library, I think is just pretty neat. But I love to read, so that's a hard question.
Right. Uh, I think for me, I remember the Beverly Cleary
Yeah.
books,
Yep.
The Mouse and the Motorcycle. I remember our fourth grade teacher reading that to us, and that was a big deal.
Yes, that's a good one.
Oh,
And kids are still reading that. Like we just did in fourth grade, we did book talks using Book Creator, and there were a handful of kids that did Mouse and a Motorcycle. Like,
mm.
so I think that's just so fun to see that.
Do you know that she finally passed away a couple years ago at
Yeah.
104?
Isn't that crazy? So
Right?
cool. Yes, I
She
know.
she earned it. She
She
earned it.
did.
So, what are you reading now?
Oh my goodness. Well, I just went to Nantucket. I love Ellen Hilderbrand. I'm reading some more books of hers. I just got done reading the Winter Street series for like the fourth time. This time of year, I read things that just kind of make my heart happy, and in the summertime, I really dig into things that maybe are a little bit harder to read. Like, but this time of year, I love reading things that I can sit down and read and just wherever
Mm,
I am on my Kindle or a book. But after going to Nantucket, it's been really fun to read. I'm reading one right now called, it's either 23 Summers or 22 Summers, but I'm enjoying those. And I love to read picture books. I'm addicted to picture books. So I just got done reading some that are on our new Iowa Children's Choice Award for next year. So that's what I've been doing this week.
oh, good books. I want to thank you so much, Shannon, for coming on the podcast. And I'd like to mention to our listeners, please like, subscribe, and share wherever our podcasts are produced and showing. Um, Also, we're on YouTube. And again, thank you, Shannon.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Appreciate the time.